I'm Lori Meggs.
And I'm Bill Hubsher. Welcome to Focus on Marshall. On today's program, we're going to learn more about the office that's looking after the environment here at the Marshall Space Flight Center and is also looking after the health and safety of its employees.
But first, we'll take a look at a visual time machine that's been giving us these great images for the past 8 years.
We're here at the Huntsville Marriott, where 175 scientists from around the world have gathered to celebrate 8 years of amazing pictures from the Chandra Space Telescope. And we're joined by Chandra's program manager, Keith Hefner. Keith, if you would, give us a brief history of the Chandra program.
Sure. We started work on Chandra way back in the late 1970s. We actually got into true design and development activities in the late 80s, early 90s. Went through a couple of program restructures. Brought the facility in, tested in the Marshall X-ray calibration facility in the 1997 time frame, followed in 1999 by the launch of Chandra. We've had 8 years of great operations and look forward to many more.
Now, that's a lot of what Marshall's been doing, but I understand you also have partners up in Massachusetts.
We do. The Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory is our prime contractor for science and mission operations. They're a strong partner with us, have been involved with the program for a number of years, an integral part of our team.
Keith, how does Chandra fit into NASA's overall mission?
Yeah, Chandra is one of NASA's 4 great observatories, along with Hubble and the Spitzer Space Telescope, that are currently operating on orbit. We work for and support the Science Mission Directorate at headquarters, the Astrophysics Division. And Chandra is really about understanding more about the structure and evolution of the universe.
All right, well, Keith, thanks very much for telling us a little bit about Chandra today.
Sure, thank you.
We're joined now by Jeffrey Hayes, who is a program executive for Astrophysics Mission Operations.
That's right.
Jeffrey, thanks very much for joining us today,
pleasure.
all the way down here from headquarters.
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about how Chandra is an asset for the agency?
Well, Chandra is, in fact, the X-ray great observatory. We have 4 great observatories, or we've had 4 great observatories that were conceived in the late 70s and funded and constructed from 1990 onward. The very first one, of course, was the Hubble Space Telescope. The second was Compton, which was a gamma-ray telescope, and then we have Chandra, which is the third, and Spitzer, which is an infrared telescope, is the fourth. The idea behind having 4 great observatories and Chandra being one of the cornerstones of them is, in fact, if you're going to ask scientific questions about how the universe works, evolves, and will eventually evolve away, you need to know those. You need to get data in all 4 of those wavelength regimes to get a complete picture of the objects you're looking at.
Well, the scientists are gathered here in Huntsville this week, obviously to celebrate 8 years that we've gotten some amazing data from Chandra. What do we expect from Chandra in the future?
Actually, hopefully, knock on veneer, more of the same, of course, and a lot more operations to go on. I think that we can't predict, because serendipity is part of the joys of doing science, right? You have no idea what you're going to find out. A lot of people have preconceived notions. I mean, that's why we do science investigations, right? I think I know how this thing works. But you go out and get the data, and sometimes you're right, but a lot more of the times you're almost right, which means you have to look at the little fiddly bits that don't quite fit in. And if you're lucky, you actually open up a whole new field of astrophysics you never thought existed before. And that's why meetings like this are not only so exciting, but very important.
And of course, it makes the future that much more exciting, I guess.
Exactly right.
Well, Jeffrey, thanks very much for seeing us today.
My pleasure.
During a break in the conference, we got very lucky to catch up with Dr. Martin Weisskopf. He is the Chandra project scientist and a very busy and difficult man to catch up with. Dr. Weisskopf, thanks very much for taking a few minutes to talk to us. You were with Chandra from the beginning, right?
Essentially from the beginning. I came to Marshall in 1977 to be the Chandra project scientist. It was called AXAF then, and here we are 30 years later. It's been up and operating for 8 years, and we're having this wonderful symposium.
Can you tell us about some of the highlights of some of the images we've gotten back from Chandra?
Yes, there's so much to talk about, and we have very little time, but our usual story is black holes, black holes, black holes. One of the things that Chandra has done is shown us that the universe is not overly, but more populated with black holes than we ever thought. We're seeing it at the centers of all galaxies, even highly absorbed ones nobody ever thought about before, and that's just the tip of the iceberg with Chandra.
And you're releasing a brand new image today, right?
Yes, there's a beautiful image. These are most spectacular X-ray pictures of what happens when when a star explodes. And when a star explodes, it sends out debris and matter into the interstellar or medium, and it lights it up at very high energies, and you see X-rays. This is a beautiful image, just not only beautiful and to look at, but important scientifically to understand what happens when stars explode, what were their content. This is where the matter that made us, the heavy metals, are made in the insides of stars, and this is how the cycle starts and ends.
I think it's been amazing and how many dramatic and beautiful images nature has been able to provide for us thanks to the Chandra Telescope.
Yes, it's a remarkable observatory. This is looking at the universe not in the visible light that's emitted, but in the X-rays that are emitted, and as they're lighted, very high energies, and it turns out, interestingly enough, most of the matter that we can see in the universe you can only see in X-rays.
Well, Dr. Weiskopf, thanks very much for taking a moment to speak with us today.
My pleasure.
We're here with Alan Elliot, and he is the manager of the Environmental Engineering and Occupational Health Office. And Alan, your office covers a wide variety of things out here at the center. Let's start with environmental engineering. What does that involve?
Okay, the environmental engineering side is the general compliance from EPA regulations, that type of stuff. Involves hazardous waste management, chemical management, pollution prevention and recycling, how we deal with past contamination at sites. We're a Superfund site here at the center, and we're cleaning up groundwater. It also deals with program offices such as Shuttle and Constellation, where we provide environmental assessments and also regulatory reviews to identify new regulations that are pending that might impact program and projects.
Well, that's a lot of work, obviously, but you also handle occupational health. What's involved in that?
Yeah, the occupational health side is the medical center, which everybody's familiar with. It also includes industrial hygiene, which is the assessments of employee environments so to make sure that the employees are safe where they work.
Alan, a lot of people also may not be aware that your office plays a role in the ISO audits.
Yes, that's right. We've developed an environmental management system for the center, and we support the internal audit team, and we also support the external audit team, which is NQA. We received a registration for ISO 14001 last year.
All right, well, Alan, thanks very much for talking to us today. Lori is now learning a little bit more about your office.
I'm here with Danielle Whitlock, and she's an environmental management specialist with the EEOH office. And Danielle, tell me exactly how we track chemicals here at the center.
What we do, Lori, is we track them from cradle to grave, beginning at a central receiving site where they're barcoded, and then tracked to their storage facility, and then they end up here at the hazardous waste storage facility.
And how many could be here at a given time on this center?
Today we have over 60,000 barcoded containers on site.
Wow, so that's a big job. Now, you talked a little bit about hazardous waste. What qualifies as hazardous waste? That sounds kind of scary to some people out there, I'm sure.
It is. A simple aerosol can would be considered hazardous waste. Paint, solder, any type of solvent, anything that poses a health risk to the environment or humans.
And this is not something like I bring, like my hairspray is okay, right?
Your hairspray is okay as long as you don't throw an aerosol can away here on site.
Okay, take it back home. But these are mainly NASA-purchased products, right?
Exactly. Personal items are exempt from the barcoding system.
All right, and then once you get these, you track them, and then say someone has an empty container or almost empty, what happens then?
Depending on if it's used material, it usually ends up in a hazardous waste drum, and the group picks it up from the user at that point. If it's a partial container, they can always contact the hazardous waste group for pickups.
And we are here at a storage facility, right?
This is the hazardous waste storage facility. And what happens here is the materials are stored here for up to 90 days before they are sent off to a disposal site.
And why do they have to stay here for 90 days?
It's an EPA regulation just to have a site so that they can segregate the chemicals by type.
And I assume every center in NASA has one of these, right?
I would hope so.
All right. Well, you have a great job here, a hard job, I would think. Thanks for showing us around.
Thank you, Lori.
David Thaxton joins me now, and he's an occupational health officer here at the Marshall Medical Center. And David, tell me exactly what services are provided here at the center.
We provide a comprehensive occupational medicine environmental health program. The occupational medicine involves voluntary physical exams, mandatory medical surveillance, those exams that are required by NASA or federal regulation, and emergency medical services.
Seems like a pretty big job. Tell us about the staff you have here and the capabilities here at the center.
Well, we see about 13,000 patients a year, and we're staffed with 2 physicians, nurse practitioner, 3 registered nurses, medical technologist, X-ray lab tech, and then along with our administrative help.
So your job is to keep people healthy here at the center, but you can also do that right at our desk, right?
Well, we do have a comprehensive environmental health program, which is comprised of our industrial hygiene, radiation safety, and respiratory protection. And we do provide workplace surveillance. Our industrial hygienists are out in the field daily, seeing if there's any potential hazards that could affect employees' health.
And that also includes ergonomics and the air monitors that we hear as we go through the buildings too, right?
That's true. We also provide indoor air quality type services, and when employees may smell, something in their office and strange smells, or just not feeling well, then we're able to come in and do an evaluation.
Well, David, I tell you, it's nice to know that you all are here. Anything else you want to tell us about the place?
Well, we do have emergency medical services. That's ambulance services on site from 7 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, and they'll respond after hours from downtown. And they are staffed with National Registered paramedics.
All right. Well, thank you so much for showing us around today. Bill, it's reassuring to know those folks are here doing such a great job looking out for us.
That's right. They provide everything from ambulance service to just making sure your monitor or your desk are at the right height so you stay safe just working at your desk.
I'm glad they're here. Find out where we turn up next as we focus on Marshall.